Thank you for tuning in to the Rock is George podcast, episode 251, featuring blues rock solo artist Colin Burgeson, discussing his debut solo album, From Sunshine into Shadow. If I knew absolutely nothing about Colin Burgeson, how would you describe your music to me?
Well, I would say it's primarily blues and blues rock, but it's kind of got a little bit of everything in it. I'd say biggest comparisons probably just Joe Bonamassa, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, little Eric Johnson, kind of stuff like that. But I throw in a little bit. There's a little bit of rock, a little bit of blues, and kind of a lot of in between there.
You recently released your debut solo album, From Sunshine into Shadow, on February 20th through Pavement Entertainment. As the title suggests, this is kind of a dark album. It's more about the sad moments in life rather than the happy ones. I feel like you're working your way through a breakup or maybe some self-doubt. Tell me a little bit about what inspired the album's title.
Well, the funny thing is what inspired the album's title has absolutely nothing to do with that whatsoever. The story behind that was I actually heard it from a football game, actually. I was at the studio with my producer, we were working on something totally different, a completely different project. And we just had the Sunday afternoon, we had a football game on just kind of in the background. It was just kind of white noise in the background. And it was the middle of the afternoon. So during the game, half the field was in the sun and half the field was in the shade. And they were running a play and the announcer said, so a quarterback throws the ball from sunshine into shadow. I was like, I'm keeping that. So,
well, it seems appropriate for the music that's on here, and it's not that the music itself is dark. Actually, the music I thought was kind of upbeat for the subject matter, but you're certainly going through some stuff on this album.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, there's definitely. I think there's a lot of that kind of stuff that inspired it. There really isn't any one moment or one thing in particular for any of the songs. I think it was a lot of that stuff was kind of written. I mean, some of these lyrics and things were written during, when I was going through a few tough times. But I wouldn't say it's directly about that, but it probably had at least a subconscious influence on it for sure. Which I think is you can probably tell in some of the lyrics, some of the content in there.
Well, I think classic blues has always been about heartache and pain and kind of the down times in life anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Well, this is your first solo album. How long have you been working on it?
Oh, let's see. Well, from start to finish, it took about just under 2 years between when we first started tracking drums to the release. It took about 2 years total. The songs go back. A lot of the songs go back a lot longer. I mean, some of these songs I've had. I think the oldest song I first started writing when I was like 18, so almost 15 years ago. But it's songs that kind of. I mean, they obviously changed and progressed. Before they finally got printed. But it's just a lot of these songs I've had written and I've just never had an outlet to put them on. And until last couple of years when I decided to put out this record. So there's a lot of songs go back a ways for sure.
Did you handle everything yourself when it comes to crafting the album, recording the album, and kind of pushing it out there? I know you use Pavement for distribution, but I mean, was this a lot of DIY, and that's kind of why it took you a couple of years?
Yeah, pretty much. We used only about a couple of people worked on it. Just I had a good friend of mine, and a guy I've been working with for a long time. He played the drums. I had a producer that I've worked with for a long time, and then the rest was me. I did the vocals, bass, and all the guitars, and me and my producer kind of tag teamed the keyboard arrangements and whatnot. But yeah, like you said, it was a very, very DIY. So yeah, that's probably a lot of the reason it took the time that it did for sure.
Why don't we talk about a couple of the songs? The first song right on the album, a great opener, When You Told Me. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
See that one, yeah, that was one of the that was probably one of the later additions to the record. Um, one of the newest songs. Yeah, that one. I kind of took bits and pieces of a song that I had written several years before and just never really liked it, but I liked one certain part. And I decided to build the song around that. I took a lot of influence. There's a lot of like a Johnny Lang kind of influence on that song. Um, and yeah, I think in lyrically wise is another one of those songs that I didn't. It wasn't really directly about anything in particular, but lyrics kind of when I go back and listen to it after I wrote the lyrics, it I can definitely relate to personal experiences with how that came. Nothing really direct at the time when I wrote it, but there's some personal experiences in that one for sure.
There'd be no great songs if there weren't any bad relationships.
Oh, that's true. That's true. We'd have some very boring music, that's for sure.
Darkest Days is one of the tracks that you're pushing from the album, sort of letting go of the past song. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, that one started. I wrote that one about probably 6 or so years ago. Actually a little longer, probably 7 or 8 years ago. Um, I first started writing that one. It was really I was big into prog rock at the time. I still am, but I was listening to a lot of Rush and Dream Theater and John Petrucci and all this crazy stuff. So that one started out as a really kind of a really technical prog rock song with a bunch of different, changing time signatures. When I started working on this record, I love the song. It's always been one of my favorites, but it just didn't really fit with the theme and kind of the genre that I was going for. So I kind of almost went back to the drawing board a little bit, kind of simplified it, kind of made it more of just a straight up rock song, and got it to a point where it fit. And yeah, it's one of my favorite songs off the entire record. And it's kind of got it's a little darker lyrical side, but it's kind of got a positive message attached to it. It's kind of like moving past some of that darker stuff.
I noticed the other day you uploaded a music video for the song live in the studio. Was this the same studio that you recorded the album in?
No, this was a different studio for this one. I had actually not. This was the first time I'd worked with this guy doing the music video, but it turned out great. Yeah, I'm really happy with that one. I just posted that one on YouTube and on my Facebook page, and there'll be a couple more. There'll be a few more. We did 4 total videos off of this record, so there'll be more videos coming out.
So not only DIY for the album itself, I'm guessing a lot of DIY in the promotion, doing the videos, getting it up yourself, handling all that stuff as well.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. I mean, Pavement's been doing a lot. They've been pushing it on the streaming services and on the radio. Actually, getting some pretty good radio traffic on it as well on Darkest Days. So I'm pretty happy about that. They're doing a good job pushing it. So I'm excited so far.
Is the band that appears in the music video? This is your backing band in a cover band that you're in locally, right?
Yes, those are my LAKETOWN SOUND bandmates. They were, they were gracious enough to back me up on some of my stuff, and then yeah, they're great bandmates, great friends. But yeah, that is also my cover band as well. And the drummer on the video and the cover band is the one that did that's Seamus. He did the drums on the record as well.
And you kind of need that local cover band to get the word out, and kind of, I mean, the local scene likes a cover band versus an original guy, but that's how you how you get your original stuff through.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to, and there's a lot to like. I've done plenty of both. Playing original stuff and playing with my cover bands, and there's a lot to like about either ones. Each one's um got its own benefits for sure. But it's a lot of either way, but both are a lot of fun. They share that in common.
I used to play in a cover band. We did a lot of top 40 stuff here in Massachusetts, and it is strictly the fun gig for sure. It
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely it is.
you're like we did like one original song, and yeah, they kind of liked it, but they really wanted to hear the songs they know and love that everybody else plays.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of, we've previous, cover bands in the past, we've slipped one or two originals in the set list here and there. And sometimes it kind of depends on the night and the crowd. Sometimes they're into it. Sometimes, like you said, they just want to hear Sweet Home Alabama for the 100 millionth time.
Another song I really liked on the album was actually the final track, Forever. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that one?
That one is yeah, that one was one of the older songs. I think I first wrote that. Um, God, that's at least 10 years old, if not a little more, when I first started writing that. I actually recorded. This is actually the kind of a different version. The version I originally recorded was just kind of more of just an acoustic guitar piece. It was another same thing like it was Darkest Days. It was a song that I really liked and I wanted it to be on the record, but it just didn't quite fit with the theme of the whole record. So I kind of tweaked it a little bit, kind of gave it a more of a bluesy rock feel. And I think it worked out great.
Absolutely. Now, I noticed you have local dates with your cover band, LAKETOWN Sound. Are you looking to book some gigs to play your solo material live?
Yes, I'm working on that right now. Right now I have one booked. It's July 10th in Wallace. It's the Wallace Music Festival in Wallace, Idaho. So I'll be there performing my stuff. And yeah, we're still looking into booking. Haven't gotten too much more yet, but we are definitely working on it for sure.
Are you going to try to sneak a couple of solo songs into your LAKETOWN Sound set?
We'll see. We'll not sure yet. Haven't brought that up. We'll see what they say. Who knows? It might just be probably just stick to the classics, the class that people like and want to hear for sure. But who knows? Maybe if we get a wild hair, we'll throw one out there one of these nights.
I didn't notice, but do you have physical copies of From Sunshine into Shadow for sale?
Yes, I do. There's a link available to purchase on my website, colinburgesonmusic.com. You go over to the music section. There's a link there. You can purchase a physical copy, and it comes with a digital download as well. Yep, so those are for sale.
Are you going to sell them at the cover shows?
I don't think so. I don't think I'll sell them at the cover shows. I'll be selling them at any of my solo band shows I do for sure. But I probably won't be selling them at the cover shows. I'll probably mostly word of mouth for that one.
You have that partnership with Pavement Entertainment. How did you end up doing the deal with them?
That was first started off a few years back with my previous band, PSIDIUM, was a kind of a hard rock, heavy metal band. We partnered up with them. They did a single promo for us off of our first record. Then we started working on. We were going to do the second record. They were going to handle the distribution, and then things kind of imploded, I guess, within the band during the process, and we kind of went our separate ways. But I still had that, and I started working on this record. I still had that agreement and deal in place with them, so we decided to release this record.
Are you one of their first blues artists? Because they're mostly like hard rock and sort of 90s grungy bands, and you might fall in the same line as Ted Nugent, but
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, I'd say pretty Ted's probably pretty the closest thing. But yeah, yeah, like you said, they're more of a they got mostly the hard rock bands and on their label. I think I'm probably one of the few blues rock guys. Like you said, Ted Nugent's probably the closest fit, I'd say. I'll take it. Works for me.
and you mentioned your previous band, Cidium. It was a heavy metal band for all intents and purposes, and I believe it was born out of another heavy metal band that you were in called Invasive. Is that correct?
Invasive, yes. Yep, that's correct. Yep.
So these were kind of the same band, just maybe a couple of different members or two.
Same band, yeah, same band at the at least the latest lineup of Invasive. Basically, we kind of went through a bunch of different lineup changes in my time, but yeah, after our lead singer, he moved. He moved to Florida. We decided to. The rest of us decided to keep the band going. Just got a new lead singer, new name, new songs. Just but kept that same core group. We all got along great at that time for the most part. So yeah, we kept it going and just changed the name, wrote some new music, and yeah, kept it going for a while.
You mentioned that Cidium kind of imploded while making their second album. That album ever get completed?
No, and it's not completed. It's still, I mean, all the files are still there. We use the same producer that we used on my record. Um, so all the files are still there. All the tracks are still there, and it's just kind of sitting there. I'm not sure exactly what. I don't. There's no current plans to finish it and release it. But who knows? It's all still there, so I can always go back and look at it, but we'll see. I'm not no current plans, but not ruling anything out at this point.
I saw that while you were a member of Invasive, that you opened for Quiet Riot and Steel Panther and Metal Church, among others. Do you have any interesting or funny stories being around any of these bands? I hear Steel Panther pretty wild.
There we didn't I didn't get to talk to the guys from the bands too much. I met Frankie Benali briefly when we opened for them. But the one thing I do remember, I wasn't very familiar when we first opened for Steel Panther. I wasn't very familiar with them at all. I hadn't really, so it came a bit, the first I walked in. We all had our green rooms in the back, and I walked in, and the lead singer I was just in ours, just putting on his lipstick and his makeup. So I was like, and again, I had not really was not familiar with the band at that time. So I'm just like, it was like, okay, this is interesting. And then, but then I watched the show, like, okay, I see I see what they're getting at now. But it was a little, it was interesting at first. I was like, okay, what's happening here? But
I understand the comedy aspect of Steel Panther. I enjoy their music, but I feel like sometimes they've ruined a potentially great crossover song by using dirty lyrics. I'm like, without the dirty lyrics, this song could be huge.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's a lot of they have. I mean, I've listened to a bunch of. They have a lot of great songs. But yeah, like you said, maybe if the really vulgar lyrics, they do kind of. I think it kind of tends to, at least for me personally, kind of throws it a little bit. But I mean, they're really great songs. They're really talented guys, absolutely. But and I mean, I see I get the angle they're coming from. They're kind of the comedy rock. They're kind of make fun of the '80s hair metal, glam metal scene. But yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that for sure.
And then I see him on a music competition show, and I'm like, where are they going to go with this if they continue to advance?
Right. Yeah. It's a very it's definitely not an all ages audience, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit limited on that. But I mean, I will say it was a. I mean, they packed it was. I think it was sold out when we opened for them. It was so they packed the place and they did a great job. So Something's got to be working for him.
So after all those years of heavy metal, what brought you to the blues?
Um, I don't know. I guess it was just. I guess it was just kind of a natural kind of evolution. I guess I was just. I guess I just started listening to different stuff. I started listening to a lot more Stevie Ray Vaughan and Joe Bonamassa, Eric Johnson, guys that I had. Eric Clapton. These are guys I had listened to previously, but never really dove into. Um, yeah, I just started listening to a bunch of that stuff, more so than the hard rock, and I started playing it. I wanted started kind of learning the style, kind of playing it at home, and eventually started writing songs in that style. And it kind of, it just felt like natural, a little more so than the heavy metal stuff. I've been told numerous times that people think I found my niche with it. I kind of agree. It's definitely something but yeah, it just kind of just evolved naturally, and just something I still love, and I love playing it for sure. So
I mean, all those heavy metal riffs are based in the blues anyway, and so is the soul.
oh yeah,
You're using the blues box on almost everything. It's just faster in heavy metal.
it all comes from it all comes from BB King. He's the one to blame. Yeah.
What kind of guitars are you playing these days?
Primarily Paul Reed Smith. And I use a couple, and I do a couple Fenders. Paul Reed Smith and Fender are my primary for sure.
Is that what you used when you recorded the album? Those two guitars?
Yes, I used a total of four guitars. I used two of my Paul Reed Smith guitars, and then I used my Stratocaster for a couple songs, and then my Telecaster I used on two or three songs. Mostly I used my McCarty, my PRS McCarty was the primary guitar I used on it.
I think
So yeah, a little bit.
the Stratocaster tends to be the go-to for the blues, but Paul Reed Smith certainly makes great guitars, custom job guitars. I don't see too many endorsements with him, so maybe you got something there.
Hopefully so. Yeah, that'd be yeah, Paul Reed Smith, if you're listening, come at me. But yeah, like I said, the Strat and the Telecaster, they're classic blues guitars. The PRS, the McCarty I have, it's got a really it's got a very Les Paul kind of feel and a kind of sound to it. So I think that kind of suits the blues quite a bit as well.
So your father was also in the music business. He is Eric Burgeson, and he was the vocalist and guitarist for Foghat through their 86 to 88 tour. Might have been called Roger Earl's Foghat at the time. I'm not sure, but did you have a chance to see him perform, or were you not born yet?
Yes, to both actually. I wasn't born yet. Well, he was in the band. I was born in '93, so so I wasn't around for the Foghat days when he was in the band. However, I did get to see him. It was in 2009. They came to town here in Post Falls, where I'm living. They played at the Greyhound Park in Post Falls, and my dad went up. We all got backstage passes. My dad went up and did the encore, did Slow Ride with him. That was 2006. Sorry, 2006. But yeah, he played the encore, did Slow Ride with him. So yes, I did get to see him play with Foghat. So that was really, really super cool. A lot of fun.
I actually got to interview Roger Earl this year for the re-release of Fool for the City.
Oh, really? Okay, awesome. Yeah, I met Roger Earl, and actually my dad sent him my record. So hopefully he got a chance to listen to it, and I hope he enjoyed it.
I'm sure he did.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
Your dad also taught you the guitar when you were a youngster, which I would imagine could have been a little frustrating, not for you, for him, because me teaching my son anything is a pain in the butt.
Well, if he was frustrated, he didn't really show it too much. Yeah, he was a very patient guitar teacher. I'm sure I couldn't have. I can imagine I couldn't have made it easy. I don't think I made a lot of. That wasn't too bad, but I'm sure I couldn't have made it easy all the time.
Does he still play?
He's yeah, he plays not he doesn't perform anymore. He's kind of been retired from that for a while, but he did it for I mean, all throughout was growing up. He was, he was out gigging and playing. But yeah, he still picks up the guitar. He plays with a good friend of his. They come up, they get together every Monday and they play some really cool super complicated jazz stuff together. It's always fun to listen to. But yeah, no, he still plays the guitar.
Have you guys had the opportunity to perform on stage together?
Yes, we have. Not recently. We did do a bunch of stuff played together when I was younger, kind of my teens and late teens. We did some performances together. It's been a while though.
I saw in your bio that you briefly pursued a career in law enforcement. How far did you go there?
Let's see. I went to college for a couple years. I did some applications to a few local departments, Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai County, Post Falls, Washington State. I got as far as obviously didn't get any of the jobs. I got as far as I did meet with the chief of police for Post Falls, so I got that far with the interview process for the Post Falls Police Department, but it didn't work out. They were only hiring I think they were only hiring one or two guys at the time. So, and then after that, not really sure what happened. I think I joined a band. Is the honest answer. I think I joined a band and then I started doing that a bunch. Got a really good job, which I still have currently. And then I just kind of lost interest, I guess. Not really something I really desired to pursue anymore. Not really sure exactly why, but life just kind of went on, I guess.
Not a big deal as long as you're doing something that you love.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Can't complain with how it worked out for sure.
Well, Colin, those are all the questions I have for you today. The new album is From Sunshine into Shadow. It's out now through Pavement Entertainment. It's a great album. I wish you the best of luck with it. And I want to thank you for telling me more about it today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Good talking to you.
Once again, I want to thank Colin Burgeson for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out his latest album, From Sunshine into Shadow, out now through Pavement Entertainment. Head over to your favorite music streaming platform, take a listen to the album. If you like what you hear, buy a physical copy, support the artist. For all things Colin Burgeson, head over to his official website, colinburgesonmusic.com. I also want to thank Barbara Papa George and Pavement Entertainment for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. Discover your next favorite artist on the Rock is George podcast.